bill will be now read a second time. I give the call to the member for Lindsay.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise today in support of the Infrastructure Australia Amendment, cost analysis and other measures. Deputy Speaker, the Coalition is committed to building the infrastructure of the 21st century and is ensuring this nation has the productive infrastructure it needs to meet our challenges ahead. Nowhere is this clearer than in Western Sydney, a population of some 2 million people and one of the fastest growing regions in our country. The federal government, under the leadership of the Infrastructure Prime Minister, has made considerable investments in the infrastructure across our region. Successive state and federal Labor governments have failed the people of Western Sydney through a lack of vision for the future of our region. We need to unleash our potential and ensure Western Sydney is the economic powerhouse our region deserves to be. In fact, Western Sydney is our nation's third largest city. Deputy Speaker, we from Western Sydney believe in our region. And finally, we now have a Prime Minister, a Cabinet, a Premier, and state and federal governments that too believe in us. Deputy Speaker, I rise to support these amendments today as they will ensure the projects in Western Sydney will be delivered effectively and efficiently under the guidance of Infrastructure Australia. By way of background, Infrastructure Australia is a statutory authority and its role is to plan and coordinate projects across Australia. It was established by the former Rudd government in 2008, designed to take politics out of infrastructure investment. It is regarded that Infrastructure Australia is a good policy decision. However, unsurprisingly, like so many other initiatives from the former government, it has been very poorly implemented. Under its previous structure, state governments considered Infrastructure Australia to be a political institution because the coordinator was a direct appointment by the federal minister. As a result, state governments would disengage with Infrastructure Australia, which would undermine its purpose and achieve overarching goals. To rectify this concern, the government has changed the legislation so Infrastructure Australia has an independent board who appoints the CEO. This is just the first step in meeting our election commitment to create a strong, independent and transparent Infrastructure Australia. I am pleased to note these new government arrangements come into effect on the 1st of September, and I congratulate the Deputy Prime Minister for moving so quickly to implement this. In introducing these amendments, the Deputy Prime Minister has not only strengthened the independence of Infrastructure Australia, but also entrenched its role as a key advisor to the government. The Parliament must reach a consensus. Infrastructure Australia needs to move away from assessing lists based on already announced priorities and focus strategically on Australia's future infrastructure need. Quite simply, Infrastructure Australia should inform decisions rather than play catch-up. Therefore, upon being elected, the government immediately tasked Infrastructure Australia with 3 key priorities. Firstly, undertake an audit of nationally significant infrastructure. Secondly, develop a 15-year plan on infrastructure priorities. And finally, assess projects receiving government funding of $100 million or more. This bill cements these key priorities. It also goes one step further by ensuring the effective and efficient delivery of infrastructure across Australia by requiring Infrastructure Australia to conduct a cost-benefit analysis on a project before it can appear on a priority list. This move alone will create greater transparency, informing the public of how decisions are being made by government and that taxpayer is getting the best value for money. Further, the cost-benefit analysis will significantly enhance Infrastructure Australia's capability to provide strategic independent advice on the needs of our local communities directly to federal and state governments, as well as private investors. This means more informed decision-making by the government and better outcomes for our local communities. For instance, the government this year ended 40 years of indecision by deciding to build the second Sydney airport at Badgerys Creek. But the Prime Minister and Cabinet did not just decide to build an airport. They have also put $3.5 billion into an infrastructure plan across Greater Western Sydney. They have now worked in a collar-arrive way with New South Wales State Government to put in this fully costed plan. Finally, we have a government which understands the challenges that come along with growth in our suburban communities and are delivering the infrastructure that will not only support our growth, but also our growth into the future. The government has also developed a comprehensive infrastructure plan that will include new infrastructure like WestConnex and NorthConnex, the upgrade of roads like the Northern Road and Bringelly Road and Elizabeth Drive, and finally the reservation of corridors where future infrastructure will be required in the long term. This multifaceted approach will unlock the economic capacity and potential by creating Sydney road networks. It will slash travel times for motorists and ease congestion. Like Western Sydney, Australia's future growth will be significantly influenced by our capacity to deliver appropriate, efficient and effective infrastructure and transport. Investment in significant infrastructure is central to the growing productivity and improving the living standards of Australians now and into the future. Deputy Speaker, in my electorate of Lindsay alone, 2/3 of my workforce must commute every single day for work, 1/3 all the way into the city and 1/3 into Greater Western Sydney. This $3.5 billion worth of infrastructure will link so many of our business parks, which is sure to create more jobs locally, getting more people off our road and keeping more people within our region. Deputy Speaker, the Australian and New South Wales governments are also steaming ahead with delivering world-class infrastructure right across the Sydney, starting with the geotechnical investigations on the tunnel sections of the WestConnex Stage 1 project. The East Corridor commenced last week. This, Deputy Speaker, is an important milestone in the delivery of WestConnex, which will provide more than $20 billion in economic benefits to New South Wales, create 10,000 jobs and help motorists bypass up to 52 sets of traffic lights when the WestConnex is complete in 2023. Deputy Speaker, the reforms to Infrastructure Australia will ensure the Nepean Valley, Western Sydney and communities right across Australia will benefit from investment in high-quality, efficient and cost-effective infrastructure. This will be achieved through Infrastructure Australia conducting rigorous and sound planning to identify quality projects and avoid wasteful investment. Let's be clear, Infrastructure Australia will not be the decision maker. Infrastructure Australia.
Order. The debate is interrupted in accordance with Standing Order number 93, and the debate may be resumed at a later hour.